Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folari. Well, first of all, the two announcements that came out yesterday, the president, had just changed a lot of stuff. I'm not going to go into the details about it because we're not going to actually be there because we have our guest. He's Colonel Samaila Yombe Dabai. He's a retired colonel, in fact, and a PhD. Good morning to you, Colonel. We're trying to. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Colonel? Colonel Dabai? Dabai? Colonel Dabai?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, if you can hear us, good morning, sir, and thank you for making time for us. Maybe to go into it, the subject of conversation is the Tinubu Administration's quest for tangible growth. And in relation to this topic, I think about 5 days ago, the president inaugurated the National Economic Council that has the vice president as its chair. And I imagine there was a lot of stuff in there that the president sort of, in inaugurating, brought out. The focus is going to be security, economy, job creation, agriculture, and infrastructure, among others. Can we take that, in your opinion, as the roadmap for this quest for tangible growth? Because Nigerians do want something to change. They want it to change. They want growth. Colonel.
I didn't hear about this.
Colonel, it looks like we're having a little bit of a challenge, and I'm sure we can sort that out. The first thing to establish is if you can hear me. That's very important. Can you hear me, sir? No confirmation on that. So I guess there are issues. We're going to sort it out very, very shortly. But as I was saying, we want to talk about the quest for tangible growth. That is the Tinubu administration's quest for tangible growth. This is a subject that is very, very close to the president and his party's mind, APC. It's been a long, long time that the president has been talking about these growth indices, especially as it relates to, job creation, agriculture, and all that kind of a thing. That's what we have, Colonel Samaila Yombe Dabai, retired PhD, as our guest this morning to talk about. But we still are having a bit of a challenge. So hold on for us, please. We'll just take a quick break, see if we can make things a bit better, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. And actually, there's a sense in which I should be saying good morning to you because we haven't been able to actually get much, since we started. And that's because of those technical bugs from time to time do interfere. But our guest this morning is retired Colonel Samaila Yombe Dabai. He's a PhD and he's the immediate past governor, deputy governor, I beg your pardon, the immediate past deputy governor, in his home, Kebbi State. Thank you very much, Thank you very much, Dr. Dabai, for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Indeed.
I'm glad to see you.
Okay. My first trial, I was actually saying that we might not even go to some of the hot news, as it were, that's sort of out there. But on second thoughts, I've had time to think about it. On second thoughts, perhaps the news is too big to be ignored, especially the change of guard in the service architecture, the removal of all service chiefs and the replacement of them. We have the arching subject matter of the quest for tangible growth. Is there a sense then in which this too can be seen as part of that quest for a tangible growth, this sudden, I don't know if it is surprising to you as well, but a lot of people, they were caught a bit unawares last night when the news broke. Is there a sense in which we can see the change of guard, as far as the security architecture is concerned, as part of this quest for tangible growth by the Tinubu administration?
Most certainly. As you are aware, there cannot be any tangible growth without security. If you cannot travel from A to B without fear of being stolen, or the people who go to farm to cultivate what we have to eat can no longer go, or neither can those our brothers and sisters who rear cattle and so on go and take care of their cattle. There can't be any tangible growth. And as to the other side of your question, I think His Excellency the Commander in Chief has really he's aware of the prevailing security situations in the country and had strategically put his mind into what to do and what action needs to be taken immediately for him to put his security program running, and that informs us of why he has changed all the players, the leading players in security terrain in Nigeria. And I believe very soon we'll see him rolling out of programs, security programs that will see to the end of what we are facing today.
Okay. Now, since we're narrowing down a bit to security, one of the most visible things, as you would have seen, is that, well, we had an earlier announcement of, the former one-time EFCC chairman, Nuhu Ribadu, as an advisor on security. But with the announcement yesterday, it's a full-fledged national security advisor. Did that surprise you?
Well, I know Ribadu very, very closely, and he has the capacity. And so I'm not surprised that the right person for the right seat is chosen. He's well known in the security area, and he has wide experience and knowledge of what is required. And I think the choice is well made.
Because people know that it's an important position, especially in the context of Nigeria looking to make a difference in security. And traditionally, as you know, it's been, as far as our experience here in the country, perhaps in West Africa, it's been that it has been assumed that only a certain kind of professional could occupy that office. But this seems to me to be a bit more like, other areas of the world where the civilian authority is on top of all other, whether military, whether paramilitary, whether whatever it is, they've always put a civilian authority in charge. And a lot of people have seen that, well, that's how democracy works. In fact, that's why the commander-in-chief is a civilian. You don't need to be a general to qualify as the commander-in-chief. So in that context, people are sort of getting used to the idea, are we going to begin to do things a bit more like the way it is across the globe, especially in the democratic world, having a civilian as the national security advisor?
Well, I think the most determining factor is the individual's capacity to perform and with the resultant effect. In my opinion, you don't have to be a general or some big wig somewhere to occupy that seat. You must have, in my opinion, the capacity to deliver that security advisor is required or needed for taking care of the security issues. And I think the Badu is well suited for that.
Okay. But then when we go to the services themselves, happily, you yourself are you're a retired senior officer of the Nigeria Army. You're a retired colonel. I was going to ask the question, as far as we are concerned, we just see that army. We just see the Nigeria Army as an army that we're all proud of, one Nigerian army. But it has had its setbacks as far as the ordinary man can tell. And I'm referring here to the fact that the security challenge have appeared to be intractable over time. So I was going to ask you, with a change now in the heads pending confirmation, as was said by the Senate, that this same military, how might a change of help us understand what you expect in terms of enhanced effectiveness from this change of guard in the security apparatus, the whole chiefs of staff, the whole staffs being changed in the military. How might this help?
Well, let me start with the consideration for the Chief of Army Staff. And I think, you see, the Chief of Army Staff is one of the generals I had the privilege of training when he was in the academy. And right there, when I had his nomination, I knew that yes, this round peg in the round hole. And as to, I think the commander-in-chief has a strategy for tackling the prevailing security situation, and felt that he has to start with the men he chose, so that if any of them mess up, he will not hesitate in changing or kick him out. And so in this direction, I want to advise the new chiefs and the AIG to be open doing, because His Excellency, the Commander-in-Chief, is a result-oriented leader. And so therefore, you have to up and doing, getting the required results to ensure that the security situation of this country improves.
Exactly. But you said something. You said something about round peg in a round hole. In other words, an appropriate fit is what you seem to be indicating. An appropriate.
Exactly.
Yes, an appropriate.
An appropriate person who has the capacity to produce results that is required in that team.
You know, that will be music to a lot of Nigerians' ears, in the sense that we've done everything that has been suggested. When I say we, we're talking in a national sense now. The military, the forces need additional equipment. Of course, who doesn't? We did our best towards providing them. In fact, people that didn't know anything called Tucano, ordinary people, because of the publicity at the time, have begun to hear about our acquiring Tucano aircrafts and that kind of a thing. Do you see in these different times, one, a change of administration, two, a change of the military chiefs, do you see an improvement, an upward swing in the campaign against terrorism? Indeed, banditry and all the other ills that have been deviling us in this country, all of which constitute security integrity in Nigeria.
I don't have to have mental struggle in ascertaining or contributing to your views. You see, in my opinion, and I'm absolutely sure that the government that has been led by Senator Tinubu will, without doubt, within the shortest possible time, we'll be seeing drastic changes in the security situation of this nation. And I think you will agree with me, the first step taken, that is the first step in the right direction. So Nigerians should stop listening to the wrong music. Let them watch out for the right music this time around. I am absolutely sure that we'll begin to see results in our security situation, inshallah.
Okay, well, that's reassuring. In the meantime, Dr. Dabai, our first viewer has called in. Our program is an interactive one. Viewers call in. And so, good morning, Mr. George. Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning,
and
sir.
Good morning to the guest.
Yes.
Uncle Yori, the sweeping changes are very encouraging. Those who are saying that Nuhu Ribadu is not a military man, they should tell me the difference between a policeman and an army in terms of security information. Ribadu was an AIG in the police. AIG is the equivalent of a major general in the army. And if the security situation in our country today is the way it is, as managed by army generals, let somebody convince me why an equivalent general in the police cannot do the same thing. Don't forget, Uncle Yori, Ribadu is the only security top man that we know in this country that was able to reject a $10 million bribe that was given to him in order to compromise his position. He sent the money to Central Bank. Have you forgotten? Now we have been talking about oil theft, and people have alleged that generals were involved. How many of those generals that we're talking about have been able to do such? So I am not in agreement with that kind of line of thinking. Ribadu is competent, and I'm sure he will be able to do that job. I expect Mr. President to look at the financial sector. What he has done in the military, and I'll let him go to the finance, the monetary sector, starting with the central bank, to sweep the banking system in this country is filthy. You should start from the central bank and go even up to, because whoever is appointed as governor of the central bank has authority over commercial banks and the appointments of who becomes MDs in those places. The MDs we are having these days, they end up buying up the banks. If you go into the system, Uncle Yori, I know I'm very happy that somebody who knows the system is our president now. So I commend him. So far, so good. We are waiting and we are supporting him. Good morning.
Well, thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. Colonel, would you like to react? That seemed, it was really, as we sort of encouraged, it wasn't just a question. In fact, it was a commentary in two, streams. One, he spoke about his impressions regarding the security changes made, and also that he feels that we need to go to the banking sector as well. And I think in between there's sort of corruption as something of a brace between them. Did you have any comments before we go on break?
Yeah, the gentleman spoke in many ways supported my position in the choice of Alhaji Ribadu as the National Security Advisor. Like I said, you don't have to be a field marshal or whatever to head that office. You have to have the required experience, disposition, and capacity to deliver the advice that we need in the area of security in this nation. And Ribadu is like the last gentleman said, is well chosen. And he mentioned one thing about the difference. What is the difference between the police officer and the army officer? Something like that. Well, they are all both trained to ensure that security of lives and property is well kept. As a matter of fact, there is a basic security incidents that the police goes in first until when it is beyond the police capacity, military is brought in. And so you see these two professions are like senior twins. senior brother and younger brother, whatever you may consider. But the fact still remains that, yes, their responsibility is to ensure the safety of life and property, and in different ways. But I think the gentleman spoiled. The gentleman really gave a very good account, and of course went over to areas that the government should look into.
Okay. Well, Mr. Yakub, good morning, and thank you for holding on all that while. Go ahead now, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chief Yori. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you to General.
He's a colonel, retired, a retired colonel.
Yes, Chief Yori, I think so far so we support the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So far so good. He has not disappointed us, and then we are happy for the step that he has taken so far. I give kudos to him, and then I expect more than this. We are still expecting because he has raised our hope, and then I know in the long run our hope is not going to be that. But having said that, Chief Yori, people are talking about new Ibadan. I think, as far as I'm concerned, if there's not any law that prohibits Mr. President to nominate whoever he wishes, I think it has come to stay. And then I don't have that in my mind. He's going to perform because the office that he has had before now, we know what he did, and then we all know his antecedents. And then if we don't even know anyone out of all those security officers that Mr. President just give that appointment now, we know two of them. Number one is the new Ibadan. Then I'm very sure the Senate will not hesitate to confirm him as substantive IG, because when he was in Lagos State, you know what the man did in RRS? He did a fantastic job. And then I don't have that in my mind. Egbetokun is going to perform very well. So, Chief Yori, I'm waiting patiently for Babajide Otitoloju. So give us in the journalist angle, so give us all these guys, they are back, their track record, because I know you have all these guys information. I can't wait to see Babajide Otitoloju to tell us one by one, because I know you have their record in their hands. Thank you very much. God bless you, sir.
Indeed. All right. Thank you very much. And I can imagine waiting for journalists hangout when the guys will jam together on this whole issue. Colonel, we were going to go off on a break unless and you have any one or two comments. Otherwise, we can wait till we come back for it.
Let's come back from it.
All right, then.